This is my contribution to the Yes Stories series. So we're here supporting the launch in a couple of days of the biggest book of Yes. I've rehearsed this a couple of times, and it's coming in around 10 minutes. So Ray, if I overrun, sound the gong. Chosen this because obviously it's the cover and it looks like it's surrounded by Wotsits, and I love crisps. So first of all, welcome to my little Harry Potter bedroom where I've been working here for the last 4 months. Virtually on every Zoom meeting I've been on, someone has mentioned it, so I'm getting it out of the way first. So right, my chapter. It begins 2010, 2011, and it's a bit of a get out the violins kind of story. It starts with separating from my wife. So the heartbreak emoji kind of sums it up. It had been a long, slow descent into the inevitable at that stage. But obviously when that final decision comes and there is that parting, it's still a shocker. So there I was, single after almost 20 years together, with that feeling that I had pretty much a blank canvas in front of me, wondering what to do with it. So I did what a lot of people do in that situation. I booked tickets to a massive music festival, trying to recapture the highs of my youth. So I went to Download in 2011. There was a band that I'd wanted to see for a long time, and they were playing. So you had rock music, camping, some friends, some great music, a little bit of alcohol. What could go wrong? And actually, to be honest, not a great deal. There I was, surrounded by a bunch of drunken teens, just feeling that this really wasn't for me. There was just that sort of overwhelming feeling that I wasn't perhaps being authentic to myself. I loved the music, but I didn't feel a huge connection to the people. So what to do? So when I got home, unpacked, and I started by actually taking a good, proper, long, hard look at myself. And I began to realize that a lot of the things that I'd done with my life up to that stage, they were kind of done really because it was expected of me. You know, those things by family, by friends, by society, university, debt, buy a house, credit cards, get a good job, loans. It was all very kind of white picket fence and safe. And with the gift of hindsight, obviously you can look back and think, oh, I should have done things differently, or if I'd done this, if I'd done that. But hindsight's a great thing, but it doesn't really mean anything unless you learn lessons from it. And the big lesson I learned was that I wanted to move forward in such a positive way. Regret doesn't really serve anything, doesn't do anyone any good. So I moved forward in a positive way, and that leads to this picture, which isn't a picture. It's a visual metaphor for the sun starting to break through the clouds, having that clarity. And one of the best things that I've learned with my advancing years is that very few people actually really care about so much of the stuff that you do from day to day. There's the big stuff. It's the don't be an arse, don't hurt anyone. That sort of the original don't do evil. But outside of that, a lot of the petty rules, the things, the way that you live your life that you think means so much, they're more something that we put onto ourselves. Much more. It's how we feel people think we should behave. How the possessions that we should have that mark us out as successful, and you begin to realize as you get older, a lot of it doesn't really matter. What really matters, I think, and I truly believe, is the story, the script of your life. And what I figured out after that long hard look was that I didn't have a huge amount of stories that those campfire stories that you'd be able to sit around with a bunch of strangers and just share with them just because it's a cool thing to do. So I decided to change all that. The first thing to go was actually a huge amount of possessions that had built up over the years. Books, videos, tools, furniture, clothing, all those things that you think might be handy one day. I went through Wizard of Oz style, like that Kansas hurricane. I went through my house, looking back now, that if I'd been a bit smarter, and been a bit more clued up, and had a bit more business head about me, people might be Perezing their houses these days, instead of doing like the Marie Kondo method. I didn't know. I was years ahead of my time. But the important thing was that I was taking action. Before, the solution to this problem had been to build more shelves, to stack things deeper, and hire and put more storage and put more stuff in the garage. Although the fact that there's so much stuff in there, the car doesn't even bloody fit in there. But now the solution was eBay and FreeCycle and Freegal and giving stuff away and charity shops, and just keeping that momentum of things moving out, moving, like, really being from a sort of the Truman Show, looking in at your life and it's being controlled by all these other things, to watching something perhaps more akin to the S-Man, having that ability to be more open and more spontaneous. And I mean, what I found is the amazing thing is that I haven't missed so much of that stuff in my life. All those things that have left, if need be, they can be replaced. And to be honest, the majority of them hasn't. But the time that was spent housing them, the energy that was spent building those shelves and storing things, and then looking for things that are hidden in the bottom of a bag behind some crates stacked up at the back of the loft, that time, that energy, that's such a precious resource, and it can't be replaced. So now I try to live my life by having things that I need rather than want. I'm a massive film geek, and that comes out. You mentioned the Deadpool thing, and in my chapter, a lot of it is couched around like TV and film clips. I'm a massive nerd. I would love, the 60-inch projection TV with the Dolby surround sound, and you're sitting immersed. But at the end of the day, the films that you're watching on it, they're the same as that I watch on my khaki 10-year-old 28-inch TV that's not even HD ready. So I decided, rather than investing in those possessions, start investing in myself and in the experience. As the clutter has decreased in volume, I felt so much lighter. It's just been such a massive experience, mentally and physically, where I'd felt hemmed in before. What was coming down now, it was just pressed down by that sheer weight. In its absence, that vacuum, nature abhors a vacuum, that absence, that vacuum just let good things in, that ability to be spontaneous, to have that freedom of opportunity, that freedom of movement, a lack of connection to material things, to really start to experience life as it should be lived. It made it so much easy to move house with my new girlfriend, and then again to move house a year ago. We've continued that process. Just living lighter is the best thing, and this freedom has translated into all areas of my life. It's led to fewer financial commitments, which meant that, gosh, when would it have been now? 7 years ago, I was able to take up the opportunity to take up voluntary redundancy from a position. It was a decision that took literally 10 seconds to make. It was just like, yeah, I'll do that. And I'd sent the email to say yes, please, in literally that amount of time, and I could do it without having to have like a huge plan. I am, as much as anything, I am a control freak. I like to know what's going on, and to have control over so many aspects of my life. And this just gave the opportunity just to go, what, I can ease off the reins a little bit. Just to see where these opportunities would take me. It wasn't a Titanic moment. It was just a logical step because I could, and they led me to my current job, which I love. And ironically, 3 years ago, I gave up my notice on that as well. So yeah, because a couple of my colleagues may well be watching. I do love my job. I still love my job. But I reached a point where I just wanted to see where life could take me, how life would develop. I wanted a chance to travel and to experience things, not just crammed into that 2 weeks of annual leave that you can get around things. So to have that chance to be spontaneous. Now, happily, my employer had other ideas, and they were very generous in letting me have a 6-month career break with the option to, if I didn't want to go back at the end of it, not to go back. It was unpaid. But as I've said, having a lack of so many of the normal financial commitments, I could do that. And I took 6 months off, and actually having the opportunity of that safety net at the end of it, again, took a huge weight off my mind. So again, that sun is coming through the clouds. And this is my advantage. This is my chance to take advantage of that. My colleagues were hugely supportive. They summed up their feelings to me in a card, which there it is. My leaving gift was a trip down the Severn, but that very subtle card that they sent me. That 6 months gave me so many opportunities to build up stories. One of which is in the book. It was traveling from London to Paris on the Avenue Verte, the Green Road, which is an amazing route for someone who was quite a novice cyclist. It was just a chance to cycle solo. I went from London, ferry across to, I think it was Dieppe off the top of my mind, and then it's literally just a converted railroad, and it's just tarmac, and you don't even have to stop because they just have little dogleg gates crossing the road. So if the road's clear, you just dogleg around them, and it's just amazing. So I was carrying all my gear, cycling solo from London to Paris, and it was tarp and bivy bag, the most basic of basic setups. The tarp was literally a quid thing from a pound shop, but it kept the rain off me. I had a bivy bag that kept me warm and dry, and I was just sleeping in the woods, and it was so freeing. I had this chance to go there, and I was planning on getting to Paris and literally just like, selfie with the Eiffel Tower, turn around and come back. But again, because there was the spontaneity of that, I decided, because it was like some proper monsoon torrential downpours, that I'd spend a couple of days in Paris and then get the train back to the coast.
I'm letting Mark run on over his 10 minutes because no one's asked questions, and I was about to ask him what was his journey and how did he travel and where did he travel to. So if anyone's got any questions,
I'm almost
in the chat, please.
The gong. So I will look to wrap it up. I mean, the story in my chapter in the Yes book goes into it in a lot more detail. I didn't want to rehash a story. I want to leave them wanting more, so they go out and buy the book. But I mean, basically to wrap up, I'm hugely proud that my story is included in the biggest book of Yes. Reading some of the other chapters that I have, I do feel a bit of a fraud, but I mean, the point I want to get across is that, for me, adventure is very personal. It's not always the epic, crossing oceans, getting to Everest. That's not something I'd want to do. I mean, for me, it's as much walking in Wales or camping on a riverbank with my paddle board, or as I think I've got my picture here, it's standing on stage at a festival as someone who hates putting themselves out there, rapping along to Jessie J at a festival, or dressing up as Deadpool with Wednesday Addams in the corner. Life is the journey, so we may as well do as much to make it as memorable as possible. I mean, even dabbing over the finish line of a half marathon, dressed as I have no idea what. To conclude, I think Yes is a mindset. Not everyone has it, but the people who are involved with this, I'm so glad that they do. I'm so glad that the Yes Tribe brings them together. It's such a positive community that when the chance to submit a chapter was presented, I had to say yes. And, at the time, I didn't know what I would write about. And it's going to sound hugely arrogant. My story only took a couple of hours and a few minor edits to put together. I think we all have these stories in us, and it literally, that question, do you want to submit a chapter, just basically gave me permission and just literally fell onto the page. I think Yes can be such a powerful key to unlocking so much for us. So I'm going to say thank you. Everyone listening, grab the chance. Thanks for listening to my random ramblings.